The Lauren homeworld stretched beneath the human fleet like a wounded jewel. Cities once filled with light and life now lay in ruins. Smoke drifted from shattered towers and pockets of fire glowed against the dim blue of the planet's atmosphere. The Zalvorians, relentless and calculating, patrolled the skies in sharp metallic ships scanning for any resistance. Yet the humans, confident and coordinated, were moving with precision. Admiral Julian Soren stood on the bridge of the Intrepid, watching the holographic display. Red blips, the enemy, moved in jagged patterns. Human ships, sleek and agile, were positioned strategically around the planet. They weren't here just to fight. They were here to save lives. "Deploy the shuttles," Soren ordered. "We'll set up triage points and field shelters. Medics, engineers, and supplies go first. Combat units hold the perimeter." Dr. Asha Kale, standing beside him, adjusted her headset. "The Lauren are still hiding in underground shelters," she said. "If we move quickly, we can reach them before the Zalvorians locate every hiding place." The first shuttles descended through the thick smoke, engines roaring softly. Onboard humans prepared to face chaos unlike any they had seen. Medics readied their equipment, engineers carried portable structures and tools, and soldiers braced themselves for enemy contact. Every hand had a purpose, and every mind focused on saving lives. When the shuttles touched down near a partially destroyed city, humans stepped out into the debris. The ground shook with distant explosions, but they moved with determination. Lauren civilians emerged slowly from shadowed alleys and broken doorways, their eyes wide and uncertain. A young human medic, Lieutenant Mara Chen, approached a group of frightened children. "It's okay," she said softly, kneeling to meet their gaze. "You're safe now. We're here to help." The children blinked, not fully understanding the strange, tall creatures before them, but instinctively they followed. Their parents peeked from behind rubble, hope flickering in their eyes. Humanity's presence brought a calm that had been absent for weeks. Meanwhile, in orbit, the Intrepid and its supporting vessels faced their first real challenge. A Zalvorian strike squadron, swift and heavily armed, descended from the upper atmosphere. Their ships were smaller but deadly, designed for precision strikes. Yet the human fleet reacted as one. Admiral Soren's voice came over the comms. "All units, defensive formations Alpha and Beta. Protect the shuttles. Engage only if necessary. Minimize damage to the planet." Human pilots executed maneuvers that seemed impossible. Ships weaved and darted through laser fire, their engines glowing bright against the void. Every movement was coordinated, a symphony of skill and strategy. The Zalvorians had expected chaos, confusion, but they found discipline, adaptability, and courage. Lieutenant Kai Ren, a young pilot on his first real combat mission, gritted his teeth as a Zalvorian fighter surged toward him. Using a sudden lateral thruster burst, he slipped past its weapons and fired a disabling shot. The enemy ship spiraled out of control, careening into a nearby asteroid. Ren exhaled, realizing the reality of human ingenuity, quick thinking, courage, and refusal to give up. On the ground, engineers worked tirelessly. Portable shelters rose from the rubble, medics tended to injuries, and communication units relayed the progress back to orbit. The humans moved not as individuals but as a single organism, responding to threats, solving problems, and protecting lives. Dr. Kale walked through a makeshift triage center, observing the work. "The Zalvorians expected fear," she said to Captain Soren, who had landed briefly to coordinate efforts. "They never imagined humanity would arrive ready to help instead of just fight. That alone may turn the tide." Soren nodded. "Humans are stubborn in ways the Zalvorians can't understand. We don't just survive, we adapt. We don't just fight, we protect. That is our strength." Even as humans rescued the first Lauren families, the enemy struck again. A group of Zalvorian ships attempted to land troops near the city's central district. But human forces anticipated it. Soldiers using hover vehicles and agile exosuits intercepted the attackers. Laser bursts lit the dim sky and explosions echoed across the valley. The humans were outnumbered but not outmatched. Every move displayed coordination, courage, and tactical brilliance. Meanwhile, a squad of engineers discovered a collapsed Lauren data hub beneath the city. Inside, ancient technology stored the history, culture, and science of the Lauren people. It was a treasure trove of knowledge, but it was also vulnerable. A quick decision was needed: preserve the data or risk losing it to the Zalvorians. Human engineers, led by Chief Technician Rena Solis, worked with precision. They secured the data into portable drives and prepared to transport it to orbit, ensuring that even if the planet was further damaged, the Loran heritage would survive. At the same time, young Loran leaders observed humanity's methods in awe. They had expected saviors who fought blindly, perhaps destroying even more of their world. Instead, humans moved with thought, care, and respect. Diplomats worked alongside soldiers, ensuring that no further harm came to civilians. Medics treated wounds regardless of species. Engineers repaired infrastructure faster than anyone could have imagined. Even children watched and learned. One young Loran girl hiding behind a crumbled wall whispered to herself, "They are different. They protect." And in that moment, hope grew stronger than fear. In orbit, Admiral Soren reviewed reports of skirmishes and rescues. Losses had been minimal, and each human action had saved dozens of lives. He felt a deep sense of pride, not for victory in battle, but for the lives preserved. Humanity's presence on this distant world proved one thing: courage and compassion could change outcomes even against superior forces. But the Zalvorians were not finished. Their attacks grew more coordinated, more relentless. They began targeting infrastructure, trying to cut off human aid. In response, Captain Soren made a bold decision. A small strike team would disable the Zalvorian command ship controlling the attacks from orbit. It was risky, but humanity's determination demanded action. The strike team, led by Lieutenant Wren and joined by skilled engineers and soldiers, launched in stealth pods. They navigated through debris and patrols, approaching the enemy command vessel. Using clever maneuvers and synchronized teamwork, they infiltrated the ship. Within hours, they disabled its main weapon systems and communications. The Zalvorians, unprepared for such a precise strike, were thrown into disarray. Back on the planet, the impact was immediate. Enemy forces hesitated, their coordinated attacks faltering. Human medics, soldiers, and engineers pushed forward, rescuing more Loran families and stabilizing key areas. The tide had turned not by brute strength, but by intelligence, courage, and careful planning. Admiral Soren watched from the Intrepid as humans and Loran worked side by side. "This is what we do," he said quietly to Dr. Kale. "We do not simply fight. We protect, we heal. We save lives even in the face of danger." Dr. Kale smiled. "The Loran will remember this. Not just the humans who fought, but the humans who cared." As night fell on the devastated world, human lights, ships, shelters, and triage centers glowed like stars among the ruins. The Loran slowly began to emerge, curiosity replacing fear. Conversations started. Children laughed, if only briefly, and families shared their first safe meals in weeks. Humanity's presence had transformed the planet from a place of despair into a beacon of hope. Captain Soren, standing on a high ridge overlooking a recovering city, reflected on the day's events. Humans had faced danger, fear, and chaos, and yet they had persevered. They had adapted, protected, and saved lives in ways no one else could. And in doing so, they had begun to write a new chapter in galactic history. Somewhere in the shadows, the Zalvorians regrouped, their pride wounded, but their plans not fully defeated. But one thing had changed. They now understood that humanity was not a race to underestimate. Where others relied on fear, humans relied on courage. Where others sought domination, humans sought to protect. And that difference, that determination, made all the difference in the universe. For the Loran, for the humans, and for the countless civilizations that might one day look to them, the message was clear. When humanity answers a call for help, it is not just an army that arrives, it is hope, ingenuity, and unwavering courage. And in the Valar expanse, hope had just taken its first steps. The Loran homeworld, once teetering on the brink of destruction, now breathed with cautious hope. Humanity's fleet hung in orbit like vigilant guardians, a shining barrier against further attacks. On the ground, human medics, engineers, and soldiers moved among the survivors, rebuilding infrastructure, treating injuries, and sharing knowledge. And yet the battle was far from over. The Zalvorians had not retreated, they had regrouped. In the shadow of asteroid belts and distant moons, their fleet gathered strength, preparing for a counterattack. They had underestimated humans before. That mistake had cost them. But they were ruthless, patient, and intelligent. And now they would strike with a new ferocity. On board the Intrepid, Admiral Julian Soren studied the tactical hologram. Red and orange blips marked the approaching enemy formations. Human ships, though smaller in number, were positioned to intercept and contain them. Beside Soren, Dr. Asha Kale analyzed sensor data. They're coordinating in waves, she said. They'll attempt multiple landing points simultaneously. If they succeed, they could disrupt our rescue operations and retake the city quickly. Soren's expression was calm, yet resolute. Then we'll be ready. Humanity doesn't wait for the enemy to choose the battlefield. We take the initiative. Prepare the strike teams and position the fleet. Every unit must know their role. On the ground, Lieutenant Mara Chen coordinated field medics, ensuring triage stations were mobile. Families were moved to safer zones as engineers reinforced shelters. Soldiers patrolled streets, guiding civilians and maintaining communication lines with orbiting ships. Every move displayed human precision and adaptability. The Zalvorian attack began at dawn. Small ships darted through the atmosphere, dropping troops onto the planet's surface. Explosions erupted across the outskirts of cities. Panic threatened to take hold, but the human forces were ready. Captain Soren activated his comms. All units execute counteroffensive Plan Delta. Protect civilians first. Engage enemy only when necessary. Use every advantage. Remember, we fight to save lives. Hover vehicles and exosuit-equipped soldiers surged toward the enemy landing zones, using tactics honed in Earth's own urban combat and adapted for alien terrain. They intercepted Zalvorian troops before they could organize. Lasers and kinetic projectiles cut through advancing forces with precision. Unlike previous invaders, humans were not reckless. They fought with thought, discipline, and strategy. Above the city, human fighters engaged Zalvorian ships. Lieutenant Kai Ren led a squadron in a daring maneuver, weaving between enemy fire to disable energy cores on key ships. Their engines flared as they twisted and turned with speed and agility, striking with exact precision. Zalvorian commanders, unused to this level of coordination, faltered. Meanwhile, human engineers had discovered an underground network of Zalvorian communication hubs. If destroyed, these hubs could disrupt enemy coordination, slowing the attack. Chief Technician Rena Solis assembled a team of engineers and soldiers to infiltrate the network. Navigating narrow tunnels and labyrinthine passages, the team encountered automated defenses. Using skill and ingenuity, they bypassed the traps, disabled security drones, and planted EMP charges that would disable the Zalvorian network temporarily. The plan was daring, but humanity's combination of courage and intellect ensured success. As explosions echoed through the tunnels, Dr. Kale monitored from orbit. "They're doing it again," she whispered to Soren. "Humans think, adapt, and execute with precision. The Zalvorians can't predict our moves because we don't rely on fear. We rely on courage and strategy." On the battlefield, Lauren leaders emerged from hiding, inspired by humanity's example. They began coordinating their remaining forces, using the human-provided technology and guidance. Where once they had felt hopeless, they now felt empowered. Small squads of Lauren fighters joined human units, striking with renewed energy and purpose. One young Lauren warrior, Kaelren, watched Lieutenant Mara Chen rescue a group of civilians from a collapsing building. "They fight not for glory but for us," he said quietly, "and they do not hesitate." Indeed, hesitation was not in humanity's nature. Every soldier, every pilot, every engineer moved with clarity of purpose. The counteroffensive was not about annihilation. It was about restoration. Humans pushed forward, clearing key enemy positions, disabling weapons, and protecting civilians. Each success boosted morale and inspired even the remaining Lauren defenders. In orbit, the Intrepid directed strategic strikes. Human ships targeted Zalvorian reinforcements, cutting off supply lines and isolating key enemy units. The Zalvorians attempted to adapt, but they were unprepared for a species that thought in terms of both battle and protection. Humanity's dual focus, combat proficiency and humanitarian care, proved overwhelming. On the planet's surface, the combined human Lauren forces advanced into central districts. Explosions rocked the area, yet humans moved with careful precision, avoiding unnecessary destruction. Engineers repaired critical power grids even as fighting continued, ensuring hospitals and shelters remained functional. Medics triaged injuries as quickly as soldiers neutralized threats. Lieutenant Wren's squadron had disabled the majority of the Zalvorian strike fleet. Only the command vessel remained, retreating toward a nearby asteroid field. Soren made a calculated decision. "We don't destroy them recklessly," he said. "We pursue, but with caution. We want to end this without further civilian harm. Using a combination of orbital firepower and ground coordination, human forces contained the command vessel. Engineers deployed advanced boarding pods and a small team infiltrated the Zalvorian ship. Using non-lethal methods where possible, they disabled weapons, secured prisoners, and recovered intelligence. The Zalvorians were stunned. No other species had ever faced such precision and restraint. Back on the surface, the Lauren civilians watched as their cities were slowly stabilized. Broken bridges were reinforced, power lines repaired, and medical stations expanded. Children cautiously returned to the streets, laughing quietly at first. Adults began to rebuild homes, encouraged by the humans' example. Captain Soren walked among the Lauren defenders, observing their efforts. "They are learning from us," he said to Dr. Kale. "Not just how to fight, but how to survive and protect one another. That is what humanity brings, strength and wisdom combined." Dr. Kale nodded. "And that combination changes everything. The Lauren will not forget this. And neither will the Zalvorians." As evening fell, the battlefield was quieting. Human and Lauren forces had secured the main districts. Fires were controlled and hospitals functioned at full capacity. Communication networks were restored, allowing families to reunite. The planet, though scarred, had hope once more. Admiral Soren gazed at the horizon, where human ships orbited silently like vigilant stars. "Today we fought not to conquer, but to protect. We fought not for glory, but for life. That is what makes us human, and that is what the universe will remember." For the Lauren, humanity had become more than saviors. They were teachers, allies, and friends. Where once fear had ruled, courage now guided their actions. They had witnessed the power of a species that combined intellect, adaptability, and compassion in ways no one had imagined. And somewhere in the shadows of distant space, other civilizations would take notice. Humanity had proven that when they answered a call for help, they did not just arrive with weapons, they arrived with hope, strategy, and an unbreakable will to protect life. As the stars blinked in the night sky, Captain Soren knew this was only the beginning. The Zalvorians would regroup, perhaps stronger and more determined, but humanity had demonstrated something profound. That courage, intelligence, and compassion together could overcome fear, oppression, and devastation. And for the Lauren, who had once believed all hope was lost, humanity's presence illuminated the darkness. They would rebuild stronger and wiser, guided by the example of a species that had crossed the galaxy simply to answer a call for help. Humanity had arrived, not as conquerors, but as guardians. And in the heart of the Valar expanse, hope had taken root, ready to grow into something that would shape the future of the galaxy. The Lauren homeworld had begun to heal, but the threat of the Zalvorians still loomed. From orbit, human reconnaissance ships reported scattered enemy fleets hiding in nearby systems, preparing for counterattacks. These forces, though reduced, were cunning and dangerous. Humanity had protected the Lauren for now, but the war was not over. Admiral Julian Soren stood on the bridge of the Intrepid, studying the tactical hologram. Red blips indicated enemy forces gathering beyond the asteroid belt, while green and blue blips represented human and Lauren units. The enemy sought to regroup, and if they succeeded, they could strike back at the planet with renewed force. "We can't wait for them to attack again," Soren said, his voice steady but commanding. "We go to them. We take the fight to their territory and dismantle their operations before they can regroup." Dr. Asha Kale leaned over the display, tracing the enemy positions. "It's risky," she warned. "The Zalvorians know this space. It's filled with asteroid fields, unstable gravity wells, and unknown hazards. But with careful planning, we can strike where they least expect it." Human engineers had already modified the fleet for a deeper campaign. Shields were strengthened, engines upgraded for high-speed maneuvers, and weapon systems recalibrated for both precision strikes and defensive protection. Humanity didn't rush blindly. They planned for every scenario, blending intelligence, strategy, and compassion for any potential casualties. On the ground, Lauren leaders gathered with human officers. Maps of the surrounding star systems were spread across a holographic table. Kelrin, a young Lauren commander, studied the data with fascination. "You plan like humans do not fear," he said quietly to Lieutenant Mara Chen. "Even when danger is greater than your strength, you act with clarity." Chen smiled. "Fear doesn't disappear, but we use courage, intelligence, and teamwork to overcome it. That is what makes humans strong. The fleet moved in silence, threading through asteroid fields like silver arrows in the darkness. Reconnaissance drones scouted ahead, detecting Zalvorian patrols and mining stations. Human pilots practiced patience, avoiding detection until the perfect moment. Every maneuver was calculated. Every choice was made to minimize risk while maximizing impact. The first major engagement came unexpectedly. A hidden Zalvorian outpost guarding a critical jump point detected the fleet. Automated weapons opened fire. Instead of charging recklessly, human forces adapted immediately. Fighters flanked the outpost, drawing enemy fire while stealth pods approached from behind. Engineers infiltrated the station and disabled its power grid, while soldiers neutralized remaining automated defenses. Within hours, the outpost was under human control, and the jump point secured. Efficiency and precision, Soren noted calmly. We strike only what is necessary. We do not destroy more than needed. That is what separates us from the Zalvorians. Dr. Kale observed the captured outpost through a monitor, and it sends a message, she added. Every move we make demonstrates not just strength but intelligence and restraint. Others in the galaxy will notice this. Meanwhile, the Loran fighters gained confidence under human guidance. Using newly supplied technology and tactics learned from humans, they began participating actively in strikes. Kelrin led a squadron through asteroid belts, disabling Zalvorian supply lines. Though young and inexperienced, the Loran adapted quickly, learning to think strategically rather than reactively. In another sector, Lieutenant Kai Ren piloted a squad of fighters toward a hidden Zalvorian command ship. Using high-speed maneuvers and advanced decoys, they disabled the ship's primary weapons and engines, forcing it into retreat. The operation was flawless yet careful. No civilian worlds were endangered, and enemy casualties were minimized through precise targeting. Back on the planet, human engineers and medics prepared for the inevitable return of enemy forces. They reinforced shelters, repaired infrastructure, and ensured hospitals remained functional. Every rescue and rebuilding operation mirrored the efforts in space, calculated, precise, and focused on preserving life. Even as battles raged in orbit and beyond, humans never lost sight of the Loran civilians. Families received food, medical care, and shelter. Children were taught safety measures and introduced to basic technology to help in rebuilding efforts. Humanity's presence was not only protective, it was transformative, teaching resilience and collaboration. The fleet moved deeper into Zalvorian-controlled systems, encountering resistance at every turn. Mines floated in gravity wells, waiting to damage ships. Patrols ambushed from behind asteroid clusters. Yet human ingenuity and coordination overcame every obstacle. Engineers deployed specialized drones to neutralize mines. Pilots used synchronized formations to evade ambushes. Soldiers adapted tactics in real time, blending human intuition with Loran intelligence. During one tense operation near an asteroid ring, a young Loran scout was trapped by enemy fire. Without hesitation, Lieutenant Mara Chen led a daring rescue. Using hover vehicles and coordinated covering fire, they extracted the scout safely. It was a small victory, yet it demonstrated a key principle. Humans acted with purpose, valuing every life, even those of allies still learning to trust themselves. At the same time, reconnaissance teams discovered the main Zalvorian logistics hub. Destroying it would cripple enemy operations in the region, but it was heavily fortified. Captain Soren studied the data carefully. "We don't rush," he said. "We plan, adapt, and strike where they least expect. We use intelligence, not brute force." The strategy involved a multi-phase attack. Human stealth pods would infiltrate the hub from hidden asteroid corridors. Fighter squadrons would engage defenses from orbit. Engineers on the ground and in orbit would disable weapons and communications, while soldiers secured key positions. It was a complex operation, demanding precise coordination and timing. As the operation commenced, chaos erupted around the hub. Laser fire streaked across space. Explosions rocked the asteroid clusters, yet the humans moved with calm determination, each team member aware of their role, reacting instantly to changes. Even when unexpected enemy reinforcements appeared, the fleet adapted without hesitation, using ingenuity to outmaneuver superior numbers. On the ground, Loran forces played their part. They provided intel, helped secure captured positions, and assisted engineers. Human-Lauren cooperation created a force greater than the sum of its parts. Kael'ren, once unsure of his abilities, now led a squad with confidence, inspired by humanity's example. After hours of intense operations, the logistics hub was neutralized. Enemy supplies, weapons, and communication networks were destroyed or captured. The Zalvorians, caught off guard, were forced to retreat deeper into unknown systems. Humanity had achieved a strategic victory, not through overwhelming firepower alone, but through planning, precision, and collaboration. Captain Soren watched the aftermath from the Intrepid. "Today," he said quietly to Dr. Kael, "we proved that humans do not just respond to crises. We anticipate, adapt, and act decisively. That is our strength, and it protects others, not just ourselves." Dr. Kael nodded. "The Lauren will never forget this. And other civilizations, if they are watching, will understand that humans fight with intelligence and heart." As night fell across the asteroid fields, the fleet regrouped. Human ships resupplied, medics treated injuries, and engineers repaired minor damages. The Lauren, now actively participating, had grown confident and capable. Where once they had relied entirely on humans, they now worked alongside them as partners. In the quiet moments, Soren reflected on the nature of humanity. Humans had answered a call for help not because it was easy, not because it promised victory, but because it was the right thing to do. They had faced unknown dangers, protected lives, and inspired a species to rise above despair. That combination of courage, intelligence, and compassion was rare, and it made humans formidable. Far beyond the systems the fleet had entered, scattered Zalvorian forces regrouped, wary and uncertain. They had learned something vital. Humans were unlike any enemy they had faced. They were unpredictable, adaptable, and relentless in protecting life. This knowledge alone would change future encounters. And on the Lauren homeworld, for the first time in generations, children slept without fear, families reunited, and hope returned. Humanity had not only fought battles, it had restored faith. And in doing so, it had begun to shape the destiny of the galaxy. One courageous and compassionate act at a time. For Captain Soren, Dr. Kael, and every human in the fleet, the message was clear. The mission was far from over. Zalvorians remained a threat, but humanity had proven that with courage, intelligence, and care, even the darkest corners of the galaxy could be challenged and changed. And as the stars stretched endlessly beyond the asteroid fields, one truth resonated across space. When humans answer a call for help, they do more than fight. They inspire, protect, and leave a legacy of hope. The Zalvorians had retreated, but they were not defeated. From the depths of a hidden star system, their remnants gathered strength, planning one last desperate strike. The humans and their Lauren allies had disrupted supply lines, captured command posts, and rescued countless lives, but the enemy still lingered, dangerous and unpredictable. Admiral Julian Soren stood on the bridge of the Intrepid, observing the final tactical maps. Red blips indicated Zalvorian positions across multiple systems, while human and Lauren forces, green and blue, prepared for the decisive campaign. The fleet had grown stronger with each operation. Lessons learned, strategies refined. Humans had proven themselves adaptable, courageous, and intelligent. "The final engagement begins today," Soren said, his voice calm and commanding. "We will move with precision, protect lives, and strike decisively. Remember, we fight to save, not to destroy." Dr. Asha Kael studied the enemy formations. Their command structure is fractured. They have limited reinforcements and rely heavily on automated defense networks. If we act strategically, we can end this conflict without unnecessary loss. On the Lauren homeworld, engineers prepared supply ships, medics organized field hospitals, and civilians assisted in logistics. Lauren fighters, once inexperienced and fearful, now moved with confidence, coordinating with human units. The transformation was remarkable. A species once on the brink of despair, now actively shaping its own survival. The fleet departed orbit in synchronized formation, moving toward the Zalvorian stronghold hidden near a dense nebula. The journey was tense. Sensors detected patrols, automated mines, and environmental hazards. But humans adapted quickly. Recon drones scouted paths through asteroid fields. Fighters moved in flanking formations to distract the enemy. Engineers prepared rapid deployment shields for vulnerable ships. Every action demonstrated calculated courage and teamwork. The first engagement occurred near the outer defenses of the Zalvorian stronghold. Automated weapons fired relentlessly, yet human pilots and Lauren fighters avoided damage with careful maneuvers. Lieutenant Kai Ren led a squadron in a daring flanking attack, disabling turrets and communication relays. Each success opened paths for shuttles carrying medics and engineers to reach strategic points. On the ground, humans and Lauren forces moved in tandem. Soldiers cleared defensive positions while engineers restored damaged infrastructure, ensuring hospitals and shelters remained operational. Medics treated both wounded civilians and fighters. The operation was precise, disciplined, and humane. Even in the chaos of war, humanity's focus remained clear: protect life while neutralizing threats. Deep within the Zalvorian stronghold, the command hub operated at full capacity. Admiral Soren, analyzing the holographic map, identified a critical weakness: the central power core. If disabled, the enemy fleet's operational efficiency would drop significantly. He issued orders carefully. Strike Teams Alpha and Beta will infiltrate the stronghold, he said. Orbital units provide cover. Disable the core, neutralize communications, and secure enemy assets. Minimize casualties whenever possible. Lieutenant Mara Chen led Strike Team Alpha through narrow corridors of the Zalvorian stronghold. Using stealth suits and adaptive camouflage, they avoided patrols, neutralized automated defenses, and reached the core. With precise timing, they planted an energy-dampening device, shutting down the hub's power systems. Alarms blared, but human coordination ensured their escape. Strike Team Beta, led by Lieutenant Ren, simultaneously captured key enemy officers. Using non-lethal restraints and advanced negotiation protocols, they secured vital intelligence about remaining Zalvorian operations. The enemy, stunned by the precision and restraint of human forces, faltered. Above the stronghold, human fighters engaged remaining Zalvorian ships. Orbital bombardments were controlled and calculated, targeting only enemy combatants while avoiding collateral damage. The combined effect of ground strikes, orbital control, and engineering sabotage created disarray in the enemy ranks. On the surface, human Lauren teams worked to evacuate any civilians still trapped in occupied zones. Buildings were unstable, and debris littered streets, but careful coordination allowed the safe extraction of dozens of families. Children were guided to shelters, and elders received medical care. Every act reinforced humanity's mission. Victory was not measured in destruction but in lives saved and hope restored. Admiral Soren monitored the operation from the Intrepid. "The Zalvorians have never faced an enemy like us," he said quietly to Dr. Kale. "We strike with intelligence, courage, and care. That is our power." Dr. Kale nodded. "And that power inspires. The Lauren are learning from us not just to fight but to think, adapt, and protect their own people. This will shape their future." Hours later, the final battle turned decisively. The Zalvorian fleet, fragmented and disoriented, attempted a desperate retreat. Human squadrons intercepted key vessels, disabling engines and capturing remaining ships. Strike teams secured strategic points, ensuring the enemy could not regroup. On the ground, the last pockets of resistance crumbled. Lauren and human forces moved methodically, securing cities, repairing infrastructure, and treating injured combatants from both sides. Humanity's principles, protect, rebuild, and teach, continued to guide every action. As night fell across the Zalvorian stronghold, the skies were filled with the soft glow of human ships. Orbital lights marked safe zones, medical stations, and command posts. The enemy had been defeated, but the mission of rebuilding had only just begun. Captain Soren addressed the fleet via comms. "Today we have secured a victory not through fear but through courage and intelligence. We have protected lives, inspired hope, and shown the galaxy what humanity can achieve when we answer a call for help. Rest now, prepare for rebuilding, and remember, our duty is not finished." On the Lauren homeworld, survivors began the slow process of recovery. Families reunited, children laughed again, and communities organized themselves with guidance from humans. The lessons of courage, cooperation, and careful planning spread quickly. Humanity's presence had left an indelible mark. Young Lauren fighters, once inexperienced and frightened, now moved with confidence. Kelrin stood on a ridge overlooking the capital, watching humans coordinate repairs and train civilians. "They are more than warriors," he said to a fellow Lauren. "They teach, protect, and inspire. We must remember this forever." Lieutenant Mara Chen helped a group of Lauren engineers repair a collapsed bridge. "It's not just about fighting," she said. "It's about ensuring the future. That is what humans do." Dr. Kale, observing the reconstruction from orbit, smiled. Humanity had proven its philosophy across both battlefields and homes. Strength without compassion is hollow. Courage without intelligence is reckless. The combination of both created lasting impact. Admiral Soren reflected quietly on the campaign. Humans had traveled across light years to answer a simple call for help. In doing so, they had faced unknown dangers, inspired an entire species, and defeated a powerful enemy without sacrificing their principles. That was humanity's true power. As the fleet prepared to return home, Lauren leaders gathered to express their gratitude. "You came when we had no hope," Kaelrin said. "You did not just fight. You showed us courage, intelligence, and compassion. Humanity will always be remembered as our saviors and teachers." Captain Soren, standing tall, replied, "We did what anyone would do if they could. We answered your call. But the true strength is in you. You will rebuild, recover, and carry these lessons forward. We are proud to have fought alongside you." The Zalvorians, scattered and defeated, had learned a lesson that would echo through their history. Humans were not just soldiers. They were protectors, thinkers, and teachers. A species that combined courage, intelligence, and compassion in ways no other could match. As human ships departed the Lauren system, the planet below glowed with restored hope. Lights flickered on across cities, and the hum of renewed life filled the air. Children played in safe streets. Families gathered in rebuilt homes. Lauren leaders worked side by side with human engineers, learning the ways of resilience and planning for the future. Admiral Soren looked out from the Intrepid, across the expanse of stars. "We went to help. We fought when we had to. We saved lives, and in doing so, we left a legacy, one that will last across the galaxy." Dr. Kale, standing beside him, added softly, "This is humanity at its best. Courage, intelligence, and compassion together create more than victory. They create hope." The fleet jumped into faster-than-light travel, heading home. Behind them, a world once on the brink of destruction had been saved. A civilization once full of despair now looked forward to a future full of possibilities. Humanity had answered the call. Humanity had triumphed not only in battle but in principle. And across the Valar expanse, among countless stars and systems yet untouched, a message lingered in the minds of all who had witnessed the events. When humans answer a call for help, they do not just fight, they protect, inspire, and leave a legacy that transcends war, fear, and time itself. In the quiet of space, as the fleet disappeared into the stars, one truth remained clear. Humanity's courage, intelligence, and compassion had changed the course of a civilization, and somewhere deep in the galaxy, other civilizations would take notice, knowing that the humans who... The horizon's edge drifted silently through the outer rim of the Milky Way, its small hull reflecting the distant light of countless stars. To the casual observer, it seemed like any other exploration vessel, compact, efficient, and quiet. But on board, a team of humans was about to encounter something no one in recorded history had ever heard before. Captain Amina Voss stood on the bridge, her hands lightly resting on the polished railing as she stared into the endless darkness. Her dark eyes reflected the glow of distant nebulae, and her mind was alive with curiosity and anticipation. Unlike many starship captains who might have been anxious about the mission, Amina felt exhilaration. The horizon's edge was part of a daring initiative, to explore uncharted regions of space, to listen to the signals that other civilizations might leave behind, and to learn about the universe before anyone else could. "Captain," said Liara Chen, the communications specialist, her voice calm but with an edge of excitement. "I'm picking up something. It's unusual." Amina turned sharply, intrigued. "Unusual how? Is it another burst from the nebula we passed?" Liara shook her head. "No, nothing like that. It's structured, very precise. It doesn't match any known natural signal patterns, it seems. Deliberate." Engineer Jace Turner, who had been tinkering with a small interface console nearby, straightened. "Deliberate, you say? You mean someone out there is trying to send us a message?" Liara hesitated. "I don't think it's meant for us. The signal is encrypted in a way I've never seen before. It's clearly meant for someone else, maybe a civilization far more advanced than ours." Amina's brow furrowed. "Show me." Liara moved over to the main console and manipulated a series of holographic controls. Streams of intricate light patterns filled the air above the console, moving in ways that seemed almost organic. They pulsed rhythmically, creating a strange harmony that was at once mathematical and beautiful. "It's a quantum signal," Liara explained, her voice hushed. "It was meant for civilizations with quantum receivers capable of decoding multi-layered encryption. Whoever sent this designed it to avoid interception by any species without highly advanced technology." Amina leaned closer, fascinated. "And we can decode it?" "Partially," Liara said. "Our receivers weren't designed for this, but humans. We have a way of seeing patterns differently. I think we can make sense of it." Jace grinned. "Typical humans. Give us something impossible and we'll find a way." Amina smiled at the comment but returned her gaze to the stars outside the bridge viewport. There was something unsettling about the signal, yet thrilling at the same time. "All right," she said, her voice steady. "Let's see what we can learn. But remember, caution. If this signal belongs to a civilization far ahead of us, they may not appreciate uninvited listeners." Liara nodded and began the delicate process of decoding. For hours, the bridge was silent except for the faint hum of the ship's systems. Patterns emerged, hints of language and structure hidden within layers of quantum encryption, and then finally the message revealed its first secret: coordinates. "Coordinates to something," Liara murmured. "A location near a neutron star. But this isn't just any place. It's a hidden hub. Based on the encryption and the patterns, I'd guess it's a shared resource, something important to whoever sent the signal." Amina's pulse quickened. "Shared resource? What kind?" Liara's eyes sparkled with excitement. "The signal is coded in a way that implies energy. Advanced energy. I can't explain it fully, but it's enough to power civilizations, cleanly and efficiently. Whoever sent this wanted only their allies to have access, and we found it first." Jace whistled softly. "Humans stumble into everything, don't we? Find a super advanced energy source accidentally. That's classic us." Amina laughed quietly. "But with great power comes great responsibility, Jace, and right now, our responsibility is to understand what we've found before we do anything else." Liara worked quickly, cross-referencing the hub's location with known maps of the sector. The coordinates led to a region largely unexplored, one where no civilization had officially settled. Yet the area was not empty. It hummed faintly with cosmic energy, and distant scans revealed subtle anomalies that confirmed the signal's authenticity. "Captain," Liara said, finally looking up, "I've decoded enough to be certain. This hub was never meant for us, but humans have the chance to see it first. If we act carefully, we could learn something no one else has yet discovered." Amina took a deep breath. She knew the risks. Interstellar politics were complex, and civilizations more advanced than humanity could be unpredictable. But there was something humans had that many others did not: curiosity, creativity, and the courage to act even when the path was uncertain. "Prepare the ship for travel," she ordered. "We're going to the hub." "And Liara?" "Yes, Captain? Keep all transmissions private. We don't want anyone else knowing we've intercepted this signal. At least not yet." Liara nodded, her fingers flying over the controls as she initiated the secure communication protocols. Jace began running systems checks, ensuring that the ship could handle the intense gravitational forces near the neutron star. Every sensor was calibrated, every engine test completed. The crew was methodical but filled with anticipation. The journey toward the hub took several days, each moment stretching longer than the last. During that time, the crew spent hours discussing possibilities. Was the hub a kind of interstellar library, a resource depot, or something even more remarkable? Their imaginations raced. At night, Amina would often go to the observation deck, looking at the stars with quiet awe. She thought about humanity's place in the universe. Here they were, tiny humans on a small vessel about to step into a space civilization far beyond anything Earth had ever known. And yet, they were capable. Humans had always been capable of surprises. One evening, as the ship passed a particularly brilliant cluster of stars, Liara called from the bridge. "Captain, the signal. It's changing." Amina walked to the bridge immediately. "Changing how?" Liara gestured to the holographic display. "It's adapting. The further we move toward the coordinates, the more layers of the signal reveal themselves. It's almost like it's aware we're listening." Jace leaned over the console. Aware, you mean it's reacting? Yes, Liara said, a hint of wonder in her voice. Not like a mind, but like the signal has been designed to test whoever receives it. Whoever this was meant for, this was a gateway, and it only opens for those who can understand and respond correctly. Amina felt a shiver run down her spine. A test? Liara nodded. Exactly. And we're the first outsiders to even get close. We have no idea what will happen if we continue. For a moment, the crew was silent, each member lost in their own thoughts. The idea that humanity could be facing something entirely new, something that no other civilization had seen yet, was both thrilling and intimidating. Finally, Amina spoke, her voice firm. Then we continue, carefully. We respect the signal, we respect its rules, and we learn everything we can. Humans may have stumbled into this by chance, but we can prove that curiosity and intelligence are our strengths. Jace grinned. Sounds like another normal day for humans in space. Liara smiled faintly. Except this time the universe is watching. And maybe, just maybe, we'll show it that humans are worth noticing. As the horizon's edge moved closer to the coordinates, the stars around the neutron star seemed to shimmer in unusual patterns, reflecting off the ship's hull. The crew knew they were approaching something extraordinary, something that could redefine humanity's role in the galaxy. And though the Elithrians, or whoever had sent the signal, never intended humans to hear it first, the universe had decided otherwise. Humans, as always, had arrived at the right place at the right time, and perhaps for the first time, the right species to truly understand what they had found. The ship hummed quietly as it approached the edge of the hub's influence, the crew ready for whatever lay ahead. In the vast silence of space, one thing was certain. Humanity's story was about to become far bigger than anyone had imagined.